Republican Louisiana Congressman and House Majority Leader Steve Scalise joins me. Good afternoon, sir. And is the SAVE Act going to pass, do you think, in the Senate?
Well, Greta, first, great to be with you. Thanks for having me again. And the SAVE Act is so important to get passed through the House first. And we're not taking that for granted with a two-seat majority. But then getting it passed through the Senate to President Trump's desk is critically important. I think you're seeing more people across the country take notice of this bill. The idea of, one, proving your citizenship to register, and then, as you mentioned, showing an ID to vote. This is something that you do to get on an airplane, to go to a bar, for goodness sake. How about to show an ID when you exercise the main right of democracy, and that is to vote? I think everybody gets it, 83% of Americans, as you pointed out, and it crosses all demographics, Republican, Democrat, Black, white, Hispanic. All groups support it by over 70%. And so we're going to get this bill passed to the Senate tomorrow, and then I think you're going to see a lot of pressure on the Senate to move this bill to President Trump's desk.
I guess I assumed it was going to pass tomorrow in the House because when it was up last time in April, that you got a couple of Democrats, so I wasn't even thinking to do anything but pass. But you're right, it might. There's always a question with such a razor-close margin in the House, but at the Senate I think is more of a problem for it. But here's what I went back and did a little research. Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Minnesota. All the winner of those states won by less than 4 points, which is why we need to make sure who's voting. I mean, in the old days when there were giant landslides, it really didn't matter if we had some imperfections. But we're now at a point in history where we have these very close races. And so for that reason, we really do need to make sure that, one vote per citizen.
Yeah, exactly. I served with a colleague, Marinette Miller-Meeks, in Iowa, who won her first election by 6 votes. Closest vote that anybody can recall in the history of Congress. 6 votes, 4 people changing their votes, or 7 people voting illegally would have changed that outcome. And look, Joe Biden opened the border and millions of people came in illegally, and some states actually allow illegals to vote in local elections. This bill says in federal elections, you have to prove citizenship and you have to show an ID to vote. Prove who you are. Because, Greta, when you go by the mantra of one person, one vote, which we all believe in, that is nullified if somebody votes illegally. They're stealing your vote. And I think most Americans get that. Most Americans know if somebody is stealing your vote because they're voting illegally, it undermines confidence in elections. And so this actually has led to more confidence in the outcome of elections in states where it's been done. And I think every American gets it.
And I don't understand. I always use this example. I can be halfway around the world in the middle of the night in Doha in the airport changing planes, and I can take $100 out of the ATM machine, and instantly here in D.C. it's withdrawn from my account. So it's beyond me that we can't figure out a system where every citizen gets a right to vote. Nobody gets to vote. And by the way, for those Democrats, and nobody gets to vote twice.
I'm sorry to jump in, but for those Democrats who are vocally opposing this, Chuck Schumer calls it Jim Crow 2.0. Chuck Schumer required you to show an ID to get into the Democrat National Convention, Greta. They're hypocrites. Senator Ossoff over the weekend had a town hall meeting. You needed to show an ID to get into his town hall meeting, and yet he won't vote to require ID to vote. So let's expose hypocrisy. If they're going to try to oppose this bill, I think all Americans are going to be watching.
House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, thank you, sir.
Great being with you, Greta. Thanks.
Thank you.